The European Union and the United States are both preparing new or modified sanctions against Belarus. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, though, you heard him, he says he's ready to retaliate and he has leverage. Here's the context. The Yamal pipeline runs from Russia through Belarus into Poland and also, key, onto Germany. As Europe heads into winter amid a severe gas shortage already, Lukashenko suggested he could just cut off the heat.
We are heating Europe, and they still threaten us with closing the border. And what if we shut off natural gas there? I would therefore recommend that the leadership of Poland, Lithuania, and other headless people think before speaking. But this is their business. If they are closing it, let them close it. The Foreign Ministry must warn everyone in Europe.
Но это их дело. Закроют, пускай закрывают.
If they impose additional sanctions on us, which are indigestible and unacceptable for us, we must answer.
Daniel Fried is the former U.S. ambassador to Poland. In an opinion piece for the Atlantic Council, he writes that Lukashenko's border policy is, quote, weaponizing human misery. I want to thank you for joining us, and you just heard the Belarusian leader there. You also say that what he's doing is, quote, Putinesque cynicism. Explain the implications of that for Europe right now at this hour.
Lukashenko is a dictator who's trying to remain in power. He's trying to intimidate Poland and Lithuania because those countries have been strongly supporting the Belarusian democratic movement, not just in words, but in actions. So Lukashenko's trying to go after them. So far, it hasn't worked because the United States and Europe, the European Union, have backed Poland. Poland's right. There's no reason for it to give in to this kind of pressure. And the humanitarian problem is entirely caused by Lukashenko, and he's doubling down. But this is part of a pattern of Lukashenko's aggression, and behind him stands Vladimir Putin, who is putting pressure as we speak, also on Ukraine. So this is a nasty moment, and it's a time for European and American solidarity. And so far, that solidarity seems to be apparent.
It's apparent, but will it make a difference? And we'll get to sometimes the impotence of sanctions here, but it's indisputable that, as you just said, Belarus and by extension Russia have the EU in a vice right now. How do you get through to them, to Belarus, especially since, as said, the sanctions aren't working?
Oh, I wouldn't say the sanctions aren't working. Sanctions take time. They're not a magic wand. I was the sanctions coordinator at the State Department during the Obama administration. Sanctions can work, but they do take time. Lukashenko's bravado is, take it with a grain of salt. There are things we can do more to hurt the Belarusian economy and isolate him, and I think we should. Now, you're right about gas. That is, Europe allowed itself to become too dependent on Russian gas. Germany made a mistake when it got out of nuclear power. That made it more dependent on gas. Putin is using gas as a weapon against Europe right now and against Ukraine. So in the short term, this winter, Europe has a problem, as you said. The United States needs, I think, to be prepared to help Europe with the gas supplies. Hopefully the winter won't be so cold. But this is not an issue where they have the whip hand. Putin and Lukashenko may think they can win, but I don't think so. Europe and the United States have options. Solidarity, energy solidarity, and the threat of further sanctions may focus Putin's mind, especially if he thinks he's going to lose Germany. I don't think either Lukashenko or Putin counted on such solidarity between the European Union and Poland. But that solidarity is real and it's important.
Just Just to continue that point, though, in terms of Russian intentions at this
Sure.
point, we've even heard from Anthony Blinken now, the U.S. Secretary of State, saying that, look, this is a pivotal moment in terms of Russian aggression. And you brought up an interesting point, that what's happening now in Belarus does play into, to use a term, the Russian playbook on the kind of pressure they want to put on the United States right now.
You're absolutely right. Putin has been pushing Ukraine. He's been using gas as a weapon. He's been making claims on Ukrainian territory. He may think that the United States is weak, divided after Afghanistan withdrawing from the world. He may think that Europe is divided. He's wrong. It's a mistake to bet against the United States. But this Russian military buildup against Ukraine has the Biden administration worried. They sent CIA Director Bill Burns to Moscow to urge the Russians to back off. Doesn't seem to have worked. The Ukrainians, however, will fight. If they are attacked, they're not going to crumble. They'll make a fight of it. And that is something Putin may well wish to avoid, because a war with Ukraine is not going to be popular in Russia. But we're in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, and geopolitically, you have just highlighted a number of risks, and hanging in the balance, unfortunately, in the short term, right, are those thousands of migrants now in those cold temperatures at this hour, hopefully, unfortunately, going to be below zero. Ms. Freed, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your insights on this topic.
Thanks for the opportunity.